You may notice that I am alone on the bima tonight. What that means is that I have to apologize to you for whatever music happens and does not happen on this Shabbat. I will do my very best to give us a little bit, but remember that my ordination is rabbinic and not cantorial. So I am grateful to be able to lead the service, to give our cantors the night off, as they also give the rabbis time off during the summer. And we will just muddle through together as a community. So I want to start on page 10 with Ma Yafeh Hayom, how lovely today is. Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. On page 6, we enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Together, now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. I'd like to invite Phyllis Felderstein to the bima to light our Shabbat candles on pages 3 and 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all those who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
Amen.
You can leave the prayer book there. Please turn to page 5 and rise for Kiddush if you are able. And there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day. Vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzva'am, vaychal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vayikadesh oto, ki vo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav tzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Please be seated. On page 9. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. Page 20. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabla, Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabla. Page 26, 28, we rise for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Page 30. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmarotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch alenu leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 33, at the bottom of the page. Together. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam. Please be seated. Page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha Ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot ben einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvish'arecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai vihitem kedoshim leloechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele, malchutecha ra'uvanecha, Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam zelianu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar kifada Adonai et Yaakov u'ge'olo mi'ad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. On page 43, at the bottom of the page together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44. Easier to take a sip of water when there's another service leader up here. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We are taught to pray as if everything depended on God, but to act as if everything depended on us. We rise for prayer, page 46, Tefillah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chaste Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei vneihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol, atah rav lo'shia, morid hatal. Mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofech cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'al gevurot umido melach, melech meimit umechayei umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. Page 55 together at the top of the page. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this... I was ahead. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael, utfilatam be'ahava tikabel, utihi leratzon, tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us. Turn to page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lehodot. Page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Take a few moments now for silent prayer. On this Shabbat, we ask God's blessing for the members of our community who are sick. We pray that they will be returned to health and to wholeness. In particular, we think of Patricia Abend, Nathaniel Agan, Mark Apple, Talia Carolyn Oberger, Shelley Blass Bernstein, Bella Berman, Cindy Blake, Michelle Connor, Natalie Conrad, George Dover, Sherry Einhorn, David Elkis, Ezra Ben George, Bob Fichette, Elaine Gammerman, Lynn Garrison, Roseanne Gerstel, Andrew Goldberg, Claire Goldstein, Arnold Gresser, Mitchell Henderson, Bonnie Jacobson, Arnold Katz, Barbara Kinberg, Lenny Kinland, Leah Kila Batsima-Vidovid, Rachel Letterman, Piper Levine, Joval Martin, Barry Mendelson, Mitch Poland, Bob Sachs, Susan Samuels, Sarah Rachel Bat Fredel, Ruth Subert, Arnold Simon, Elizabeth Smith, Takia Smith, Amy Sponseller, Peter Street, David I. Tossman, Trudy Yohei, Leslie Waldman, and Arlene Wiener. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, O God, from whom healing flows. And we say together, Amen. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. We've had a number of deaths in recent weeks at BHC. I do not mean to even reference the horrific and violent deaths that have happened in our country in recent weeks, but simply within the family of our congregation, that there have been a number of deaths. And it often happens this way. We will have weeks when Rabbi Bush and I are not called on to officiate at any funerals, weeks, sometimes even months. And then there will be a number that will happen all in the same span of time. Cantor Ellerin commented on it as we were walking out to our cars a couple of nights ago. And so it was on my mind, this flow of things that I have found in my career is very often true. That deaths will happen sort of in clusters in a community. And it was on my mind as I looked at the Torah portion for this week and read some of the commentaries that pointed out that in fact this happens in this week's Torah portion as well. Toward the beginning of our Torah portion, Miriam dies, and toward the end, her brother Aaron dies. And the Torah records these deaths very, very differently, leading us to believe that, in fact, each death was quite different from the other. Miriam's death happens this way. The Israelites arrived in a body at the wilderness of Zin on the first new moon, and the people stayed at Kadesh. Miriam died there and was buried there. That's all. No discussion of what happened before her dying or what happened after, simply the statement that she died and she was buried. We of course, are left to wonder, how did she die? Was it sudden? Was it expected? Was she sick? Was she not? What were the circumstances? Was she surrounded on her deathbed by loving family, attentive to her needs? Or was it sudden, shocking, some other version of the myriad possibilities, perhaps, of the way that a person, all of us, in fact, will end our lives? And immediately after the Torah says Miriam died and was buried, we read this. The community was without water, and they joined together against Moses and Aaron. They quarreled with Moses, saying, if only we had perished when our brothers perished at the instance of the Eternal. Basically, the community falls apart right after Miriam dies. Not for the first time, not for the last time. The community is in chaos. They have an uprising against Moses, against Aaron, that then precipitates God telling Moses and Aaron to do that thing we all know, talk to the rock so that water will flow. And then Moses and Aaron doing that thing that we all know they did, not talk to the rock, but strike it in violence. And then we learn that first God tells Moses that Aaron is going to die, then that Moses follows God's command to strip Aaron of his vestments, his holy clothing, and give them to Aaron's son, Eleazar. And then we learn that Aaron died on the summit of the mountain, and that when Moses and Eleazar come back down from the mountain, Vayiru kol ha'eda ki gava Aharon, vayivku et Aharon shloshim yom kol Beit Yisrael. The whole community saw that Aaron had breathed his last. And all the house of Israel cried for Aaron 30 days. Very different description of Aaron's death, a very different description, and a very different result from Aaron's death. Both Miriam and Aaron, leaders of the people, significant in deep and very broad ways in this community, their deaths are described differently, I imagine experienced differently, and with different result. For me, the significant differences in reading this are that Aaron had knowledge of his impending death, and his family had understanding that death was coming, and particularly Moses and Eleazar were able to be part of the preparation for his death. And Rashi, the great Torah commentator, goes even farther. He makes up a scene, describes a scene that goes like this. In the vestments of the high priest, the Kahuna Gedolah, he dressed him and then removed them from him. Moses dressed Aaron and then removed those clothes in order to place them on his son in his presence. He said to him, "Enter the cave." He entered. He saw a bed made ready and a candle burning. He said, "Go up on the bed." He went up. "Extend your hands." He extended them. "Close your mouth." He closed it. "Shut your eyes." He shut them. And then, really strikingly, Rashi adds, Moses at once desired to die such a death. Why would Moses desire to die such a death? Because Aaron was attended by his loving family in gracious and compassionate ways, because they had the time together to prepare for the death, and because in the description of his dying, Torah uses a different word even from the one that is used to describe Miriam's death. Miriam is described with the word that is most commonly used to mean dying, lamavet, to die. Aaron's death is described with the word gava, which is hard to translate but means a gentle removal of breath, that he died peacefully, if such a thing can be said. What is the meaning in all of this? Given that we cannot, the vast majority of us, choose how we will die, when we will die, of what we will die, or even who will be with us when we die, we have the ability in our lives to prepare long before our death is imminent. Not because God will tell us on what day we will die. I don't think that will happen for most of us. But because we have the capacity to do that thing that prepares us. It is something you have heard me talk about on this bima, maybe ad nauseum. I will continue to say it because it is one of the truest things I know. Talking about our own death and the death of someone we love long before that death is imminent is the best way to prepare them and ourselves for as loving and compassionate a death as possible. And it is not something we are good at in our culture, in America today. We run from any conversation of death. We don't want to talk about it, maybe in the hope that if we don't talk about it, it won't happen. And we know that it will, to each and every one of us. What is the message then? What is my charge to you? If there is someone in your family who is an adult, let's leave children out of the equation for the moment. But if there is anyone in your life, anyone you care about, family, friends, community, who is alive today and an adult, now is a good time to talk about death. If they are as healthy as a person could possibly be, fantastic. If they have a few physical ailments, okay. And if they are nearing the end of their life, whether they know that or not, good. Now is a good time. Now is a good time to have those difficult conversations, to find out what they might want in those last days, weeks, months, years. To tell them what you might want. To have a complicated and emotional and difficult conversation with someone you love, hopefully years and years and years before anyone needs to do anything about it. I also want to recommend to you 2 books that I have found meaningful and powerful. Atul Gawande's Being Mortal. It's an easy read. Atul Gawande is a physician and a journalist, and he talks, I think, in really powerful ways about the way that our society manages the end of life, and he is not a huge fan. But he also has really good advice about how to have difficult conversations. And Dying Well by Ira Bach, who is the former president of the American Academy of Hospice and Palliative Medicine. Recently, I had this difficult conversation with my dad. Not the first actually, but one of many that will come. My dad's 80. He'll be 81 in September. He's doing better than I am at 51. Just truly, the man is amazing. And also, he's not going to live forever. God willing, his death will come when he is ready. I know I won't be ready, no matter when it comes. But we had a wonderful conversation about some of the things that he might want as his life ends. Was it fun? No. Was it easy? No. Did we cry? Yes. Did we also laugh? Yes. That is my wish for each of us, that someone we love would be brave enough and strong enough to have that conversation with us long before anyone needs to do anything about it, so that the kind of death we might experience, and I have to also admit, things happen in ways that we can never plan for. But perhaps if we talk about it, we can have some element of the death described in Torah tonight. A death that was loving, I am sure painful, sad, but also not creating chaos. And maybe that is really all we can hope for. Shabbat Shalom. Let's take another moment of silent reflection. Aleinu is on page 282. Please rise and let me add what I forgot to say, which is that I am always available to help you have that conversation if you would ever like me to.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. In the period of Shloshim, the 30 days, we remember Nadia Patz, Kathy Newman, Barbara Eisgrow, Rose Mond, Norman Steinberg, Michael Weinberger, Donald Avedon, Stephen Dashoff, Jay Cohen, and Robert Levin. We announce with sorrow the passing of Constance June Bell, mother of our member Sherry Bell, who will be laid to rest on Monday. Our sincere condolences to her family. We remember the victims from the Highland Park shooting. Catherine Goldstein, Irina McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, Jacqueline Sundheim, Stephen Strauss, and Nicholas Toledo Zaragoza. We remember as well the yahrzeits of these members of our community: John Adler, Bernard Aiken, Eileen Bischow, Beatrice Braverman, Morton Brotman, Loretta Bett Deitch, Esther Dermer, Dorothy Farkas, Marshall Fine, Robert Fine, Elwood Fink, Edith Goldschmidt, Harry Goldstein, Gladys Goldstone, Hannah Gollenbeck, Ann Goodwin, Alan Hammock Jr., Selma Hendler, Pearl Hyman, Rosalie Jacobs, Donald Jandorf, Avram Calderon, Irving Katz, George Lawless, Jerome Lennett, Rolf Manko, Frank McGrain, Fanny Metzger, Jake Mizell, Elsie Rachelson, Saul Sachs, Jack Seamus, Aaron Schwartz, Louis Seidenman, Dorothy Stiller, Jerry Weinstein, Myrna Wolfson, and Samuel Warnoff. We invite those who are in mourning and those observing yahrzeits to rise first for Mourner's Kaddish. Those who wish to stand with them in sacred community, please do so now. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olamei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmeid kudusha berichu, le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Zichronam livracha, may all our loved ones' memories be for blessing. Amen. Please be seated. I'd like to invite Alan Baumgarten to share some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. So they say that you should start every presentation with a joke, so here goes. A small child has a question about life and takes that question to the rabbi, because rabbis are known to be wise. Rabbis sometimes understand the mysteries of the universe, and the child asks the rabbi, "Rabbi, why do seagulls fly over the sea?" And the rabbi says, "Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels." Okay. Given the current COVID-19 rate, we encourage everyone in our building to wear a K95 or better mask. One wing of the sanctuary to my left requires masks, even as BHC is mask optional. Those attending should be fully vaccinated and boosted. Saturday morning's Torah Talk is 9 a.m. via Zoom, and our Shabbat morning service is at 10:30, in person and streamed. Join us for summer nights on Park Heights, current events discussions, Tuesday evenings in July at 7 p.m. in person. This Tuesday, July 12th, Rabbi Shira Lander will facilitate a discussion on Jewish perspectives on abortion. BHC's Afghan Resettlement Welcome Circle has two requests. First, more volunteers are needed, particularly people able to drive the family to English as a second language classes and medical appointments. Second, we are looking for a used car in good working order. Please contact the BHC office to respond to either request. Summer means registration for youth education in the fall. Please be in touch with Julie Wall, Director of Education. Thank you to our ushers for their help. And following the services, join us outside the chapel for an Oneg Shabbat.
Bagel. Really? Really? Let's close on page 321 with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra leit nasa v'chafso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora vehu haya vehu hoveh vehu yiyeh betifara vehu echad ve'en sheni lehamshil lo lehachbira beli reshit beli tachlit velo haoz vehamisra vehu eli vechai goali v'tzur chavli be'etzara vehu nisi umanos li menat kosi beyom ekra beyado afkid ruchi be'eti shan ve'aira Ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li velo ira. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. May the grace that you have shown this poor solo rabbi follow you in your lives throughout this week and after. Shabbat Shalom. There you go. Thank you, Alan.
Poor you had to do everything tonight.
Oh, no. Poor me. It's okay. I did. I've heard it before.
Okay.
But it's a good one.
Okay.
It is a good
I
one.
figured it wouldn't offend anybody.
Definitely, right? You got to be careful about the jokes that we're